Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, I'm not pleased with you.
What? Why not?
I've been sitting here in our podcast studio for the last 2 days. So we normally record this, of course, on Wednesday afternoons.
Normally we record Wednesday and a fresh episode for
Thursday morning publish. I've been sitting here waiting. It's Friday morning now.
Yeah. Sorry, I was hanging out with Jerry Jones. Okay.
Well,
no, that's not.
You're going to have to make it up to me because I'm quite upset. I've been ready to do this.
The real reason is I've been trying to get my hair to look perfect, and it's taken a really long time.
And we just said we'll give up at this point?
No. They got it perfect.
Oh.
Yeah. Does it not look perfect? Gosh. Sorry. I got to work on it.
But we're here now, Phil.
It's preseason.
That's right.
Yeah,
we're here now.
Preseason. Thank you. We apologize for our tardiness.
It's been a busy week in Broncos country.
Eric, you and I, we went to Minnesota.
We did.
We were there for the NFL Owners Special League meeting. Of course, they voted unanimously.
Any league meeting with you, Phil, is a special one.
Yeah. We'll be there. Don't worry about it. The owners voted unanimously, 31-0, to approve the Walton Penner Family Ownership Group.
That's right.
And so the Broncos begin a new era under new ownership.
Historic.
I think the podcast is still good.
The podcast is still good.
Yeah, the Neutral Zone, I think they've approved that.
We had that Tuesday. Wednesday, the Walton Penner Family Ownership Group was introduced here in Denver.
Yeah, that was sort of like their first day, I would say.
Yeah, first day in Denver, of course.
Yeah.
Met the staff, met the team.
Yep.
Had a press conference. Big day.
That was a big day, yes. And then, of course, on Thursday, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys were in town. Nice little joint practice.
And they got whooped up?
And now it's Friday.
Now it's Friday.
Wait, they got whooped up? You mean the Cowboys?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. It seems like the Broncos have had the Cowboys' number a little bit here.
Since what? The Cowboys have not beaten the Broncos since 95 or something
1972.
like that? I don't know if that's right.
Is that not true? Okay. Yeah, it seems like the Broncos had a pretty good practice, set a good physical tone. We'll get into it a little bit more, but yeah, I'd say the Broncos won that practice.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week, which means there's a lot to talk about here today.
So much.
I think on this episode, we'll talk about our takeaways from the joint practice with the Cowboys, what you want to see Saturday night.
Yeah, you don't even know what night it is.
Normally, these preseason games are on Thursday, but I guess they just want to do Saturday now.
That's what's nice.
They like Saturday. So we'll talk about what we want to see Saturday night, and then maybe just some general thoughts about training camp and where the team is right now.
Oh, sure.
Training camp officially broke. That might be a little confusing because I think in most people's eyes, training camp is just like all the way up to the regular season.
Yeah, it's now preseason.
Sometimes in the past there's been a little overlap.
Yep.
Some teams out there will continue to do training camp. They'll have like a joint practice next week or something. But the Broncos have officially broke camp. That means no more fans out there. Maybe take it down just a notch in terms of like offense versus defense.
Right.
But they'll still be grinding. So there'll still be pads on. They'll still be popping.
Still got to get ready for Seattle.
Exactly. And there's guys who are really trying to make this team.
Drew Lock is waiting.
Yeah, or Geno Smith. It
One
seems like Geno's still ahead right now.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
That's what Pete Carroll's been saying.
That's true.
So I just have to go off of that.
Right.
I can't go off of what certain writers want to say. I have to go off of what Pete Carroll wants to say.
Okay, so like Pete Carroll at the NFL Combine in March said, under no circumstances are we considering trading Russell Wilson.
Yeah, then George Payton made a couple phone calls.
Yeah, and then boom, it happened.
Yeah. At that particular moment at the Combine when he was saying that, they weren't going to trade him.
I don't think there's been stories that George and John Schneider were hanging out at our old stomping grounds of Lock Miller's.
Yeah. That was the next day.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Of course.
Now it makes sense.
Day.
Okay.
Yeah. But when he was up there at the podium.
No. Okay.
Next day?
Got it. Coaches only tell the truth at the podium.
Yeah. They only say the truth.
They cannot tell a lie.
They'll probably make the Broncos get ready for both. Which?
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I would.
NFL teams don't do that as much.
No, that's more of a college thing.
Yeah.
Where they don't even release any depth charts.
They don't know depth charts, no game plans.
That's
they
like
just kind
a
of
Jim Harbaugh.
They just
type of
kind of go
thing.
out there and
Yeah, they just play.
mess around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, they just play the games. So we'll talk about that on this episode. But, of course, the neutral zone, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We like to have engagement with NZ Nation.
Of course we do.
Eric, one of the main ways that people can get in touch with this show is through the Broncos official YouTube page.
That's right.
You leave a comment there, and we read it.
We do.
So last week we had a couple of comments. Melvin Sanchez.
Okay.
Great show, fellas. Keep it up. The intro had me cracking up.
We love the intro. People love it.
It's a polarizing intro.
Well, yeah. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah. But that's good. It's nice to take a side.
That's true.
Rita Allen. The podcasts are nice, and it's great to see the guys on the gridiron doing such a great job. I hope the injuries will diminish. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Stan Burgess. Really enjoyed the podcast. I like hearing your thoughts and understanding of players and positions. Great job, guys.
Probably talking about me.
I don't think so. That was probably. I think it was still me.
I think the understanding part of it made me think it was me.
Yeah. No, I think that it was me.
Got it.
Harold Wass. He had a lot of comments.
Yeah, I saw that.
He kept going, and then halfway through he was like, I can't handle anymore. He said goodbye, 2 hearts.
Were any of them nice?
I think he was live commenting it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, which is nice. Our good friend Metambale.
Uh-huh.
He goes, stickers, question mark? Question mark.
That's Phil, you're behind on that.
We
The
just got
shipment.
done saying
The
it was a big week.
The shipment.
Yeah, the shipment is.
Phil, I also saw that our old friend Rick Owens,
Did he have a
who
comment?
swore off the show, he's back. He can't help himself.
Rick Owens keeps coming back.
He thinks there's too much
They-
nonsense
They
still.
try to stay away, but they just keep coming
Keep
back.
coming back to us,
Yeah.
Rick. We'll talk about some football just for you.
So we appreciate the comments. Nothing about my hair or anything, but that was okay. Your hair is looking very nice today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it looks.
I actually,
very nice.
I noticed that when I walked out of the office this morning.
Yeah. Oh, when you woke up?
When I woke up and on my desk,
Yeah.
I saw that my hair looked really nice.
Got it. You got a mirror at your desk or something, or what?
Well, there's a mirror in the bathroom, so I walked down there.
You walked down to the bathroom. Got it. So that's one way you can get in touch with the show,
Yep.
Eric. What are some other ways?
Well, you could leave us an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
That's a nice way to do it.
Type a little
Craft your
note.
Thoughts.
Type a little note. Maybe you got a
Focus.
nice Gmail account, a Hotmail account.
Yep. Yahoo.
Yahoo.
Maybe Yahoo's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AOL.
A net zero maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Apple.
Apple. Yeah, I guess you can.
Maybe you got a Broncos email account. Maybe
Sometimes.
you work here and you're listening to us.
Yeah, the comments coming from inside the building.
Exactly. But you leave us an email. We'll read it here on the show.
Yep.
Maybe you want to be a little bit more engaging. You want us to hear
Hear the
your
passion.
sweet voice.
Hear the passion.
You give us a call, 707-NEUTRAL.
That's a nice way to do it.
You leave a voice message. You
Yeah.
don't have to talk to Ben Swanson at all.
Brandon from Iowa, shout out to him, right?
Yeah, Brandon, we wanted to play your voicemail, but we could not. It was just crackled, and we
There
couldn't.
were some technical difficulties.
Cell service wasn't great.
Yeah.
Try again.
I
We'll
don't know.
play it.
In Iowa, maybe there's not.
Wow.
I don't know.
Don't
I don't
insult
know where
Iowa.
No, I love Iowa. I was just in Iowa.
They played a whole Field of Dreams game there.
I enjoy Iowa.
Do you see that with the corn?
Did they do that again this year?
did.
I know last year they did
It was
that.
on Thursday night.
There was the White Sox and Yankees last year. Who was it this year?
The Cubs and Reds.
Wow, I tested you right there.
Yeah.
And who won?
The Cubs.
Oh, wow. Nice. A lot of Cubs fans in Iowa.
It's true.
Yeah, so they probably enjoyed that.
Or you can tweet at us directly on Twitter.
Yep.
At Eric DeLalla with an A. At Phil Milani with a PH.
Those are non-traditional.
They really,
Non-traditional spellings.
you don't see those often.
Zach with a C tweeted at us.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
It's
Sorry,
Zach with a C NFL. So,
Watch
non-traditional
out.
spelling. We love Zach.
Yeah.
No show this week? Question mark. Everything okay in the mountains?
I like Zach.
We're here.
Zach's funny.
And he also tagged Ben Swanson.
I wonder. He had a baby recently, right?
Zach with a C, I think he did.
Zach,
yeah.
let us know how the
Yeah.
baby's doing.
I
It
wanna
sounded
know how
like
it's
things
going.
were touch and go there, right?
No, I don't think so.
He was trying to figure out how to how to manage listening to the podcast with being a father.
I think when you say someone just had a baby and things were touch and go.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
I meant in terms of him being able to keep us in our life.
Oh,
in
got
his
it.
life.
Yeah. Well, you know, a nice thing
That's what matters.
Like when it's like 2:30 in the morning and you're awake, just put in some headphones and then
It'll put the baby right to sleep. Or they'll hear you and just start crying.
we're big with the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very popular.
Baby numbers are way up
Yeah.
thanks to the neutral zone.
Yeah, it's like Rafi and us. Those are the babies.
I don't know what you're
You don't
talking
know what
about.
I'm talking about, yeah.
Dad joke.
So Zach with the C, we're here.
Yeah. And we're excited. I hope the baby is doing great.
Yes.
And I hope that you're getting some sleep.
There's also, what is it, the Broncos Podcast Network?
Broncos Podcast Network, at Broncos Podcast.
Yeah, that's a nice way to do it.
There's either an S or there's
I think
not.
there's an S because there's multiple podcasts.
Oh,
I think.
who knows?
You'll have to check it out. Yeah, we don't even know. So, okay, well, anything else?
I don't think so.
I think that's about it.
I feel
Okay.
bad about the baby.
No, I was just saying the way it came out. You just
The baby is
be
fine.
careful. Yeah. We hope. Yeah. And with that, let's get into our first topic here on this episode of the Neutral Zone here. If you're wondering why we're laughing, you just go back 10 seconds.
Yeah. Rewind.
Yeah, rewind. What were some of your takeaways, Eric, from Thursday's practice with the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I was encouraged. I think it's the best the offense has looked during training camp. I think you never quite know what do you have with your offense, with your defense when you go up against each other every day because there's no comparison point, right? You don't have any sense of how good is this defense, how good is this offense. We've spent the last few years around here, I think, convincing ourselves at times that, the offense looks fine or that this defense looks like it could be really good at shutting down this offense. And then you get to the season and you realize, the defense might not be quite as good as we thought because the offense isn't as good as we thought.
Yeah.
I think on Thursday was the opposite of that, in that this defense might be better than we thought. This offense is certainly better or ahead of where I thought they were at this point. Cowboys have a decent front seven. Secondary is not quite, Trayvon Diggs didn't practice, but
Yeah.
Russell Wilson found a lot of success. Cortland Sutton's becoming that go-to guy for him, I think. The run game looked really, really strong. They were able to kind of dominate the line of scrimmage there. And Alberto, I thought, stepped up. And so really encouraging from the Broncos. The red zone work was good. I thought offensively it's as good as they looked, and I think people can kind of breathe a sigh of relief because they'd struggled at times, but I think you look at this and you say, well, maybe the Broncos just have a really good defense.
Yeah. No, I agree with all you said there. From maybe a higher perspective, looking over everything, I really thought that the Broncos set the pace, set the tone.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk all through this training camp is are the Broncos going hard enough? Are they in pads enough? Nathaniel Hackett has done that every third day type of thing. Well, you didn't see any signs of that on Thursday against the Cowboys. The Broncos were energetic. They had a lot of, they were the ones setting the tone, I thought. And particularly on the defensive side of the ball, there were some scuffles and some swings, I would say. They weren't taking anything from the Cowboys.
No.
And that maybe necessarily hasn't been the case the last couple of times the Broncos have done joint practices. Maybe you didn't see everybody all in on it, everybody standing up for their teammates, that kind of thing, And there's just been a total culture shift with the Broncos. I mean, I think that was evident more so on Thursday against the Cowboys. That stood out to me. I was just sort of man, things are actually different around here, because when it's just Broncos versus Broncos, you can't quite tell.
Yeah.
But when that other team is out there, you're like, this does, at the very minimum, I mean, everybody's always really optimistic right now at this time. But at the very minimum, what's 100% true is this team is different than it's been in the last couple of years. Russell Wilson a big part of that, Nathaniel Hackett a big part of that.
Yeah, and I think that, you talk about that overarching picture. I think it's one thing to talk about, hey, we want to make the playoffs, we want to win the Super Bowl. It's another thing to go out there and kind of perform to a championship level standard. And I think that that's both the play on the field and just how you carry yourself. Like the offense was above some of the nonsense that was going on with the Broncos defense and Cowboys offense. And then the Broncos defense, like you mentioned, they weren't going to let the Cowboys push them around. They set the tone. They were nasty. I think if you're a championship football team, you've got to have that offense that's kind of like they're above some of that stuff. They don't make silly mistakes. They're just efficient. And then defensively, you want people to fear you.
Yeah.
You know, that Super Bowl 50 defense had a lot of swagger.
Yep.
I kind of wondered when Derek Wolfe was here a few weeks ago and talked about, this team needs somebody like that. I kind of wondered, like, do they have that? And after watching them against the Cowboys, whether it's Deshaun Williams, Draymond Jones, Bradley Chubb, Kareem Jackson back there, the way that Pat Surtain plays, he doesn't talk as much, but they've got that. And so I think we talked the other day on one of our recap shows, hundreds of recap shows.
We did a lot of nice daily recap shows. I had fun doing those.
They were great. We talked about with one joint practice, you don't have the opportunity to come out and start slow. You got to kind of prove that you're for real and that you are a high caliber team. The Broncos did that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you talk about the guys on the defensive side of the ball. Pat Surtain kind of made it sound like they had gathered before the practice and said, "This is our field.
Yep.
We're not going to let the Cowboys come in here and do anything." What did Nick Bonito say?
Nick Bonito said, "We're not going to let them punk us." And they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. Nick Bonito looked good out there.
Nick Bonito looked good, maybe as many as 4 sacks in
hard to tell.
Game situation. Yeah, I mean, probably not. Maybe not quite that many.
A sack is when you're in Dak Prescott's bubble.
Yep. Well, and I thought what was encouraging with Nick is that a few of those were against Cooper Rush, but he did have one against Dak on a 4th down play. The Broncos defense allowed a touchdown on the first 2-minute drive, then came back. I don't even think they got a first down. I mean, they held him very quickly. The run defense looks a lot better than it did last year or maybe the year before that. So that's encouraging because that's only going to make – I think Bradley Chubb said, we've kind of learned now if we're good on 1st and 2nd down on the run, then we get sacks because it's going to be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, and they got to drop back to pass. So if you're Nick Bonito, you're Bradley Chubb, or you're Malik Reed or anybody, if you want a sack, play run defense so that they have to throw it on 3rd and long. I just think all around this defense complements each other really well, and I'm excited to see what they do.
And one example of that was the clip that was going around on Thursday was Bradley Chubb blasting Ezekiel Elliott.
Yep.
I don't get too worked up, he blasted him, blah, blah. But I think what it showed was more of just a sign of how you practice. The Broncos were still going full go there, and Zeke had just, let up.
Yep.
And wasn't really, still in the play.
Yeah.
That just sort of tells you about where these guys are mentally. The Broncos have practiced like that all camp.
Yep.
And clearly the Cowboys hadn't been practicing at that level. So good to see just this team where its mindset is. I think there was a pretty big contrast out there. And it was reassuring, hey, these guys have had a good camp, so.
And I think if there was one thing that even last year the Broncos kind of did is that there were times when they let bad teams – I'm not saying the Cowboys are a bad team because I don't think they are.
No.
But there are times last year when the Broncos let bad teams kind of hang around a little bit. The Giants were in that game at halftime. The Jaguars were in that game at halftime. I'm trying to think of the Jets were not in that game at halftime.
Yeah, there was a lot of second half pulling away a little.
But in this league, when you a one-score game for the most part is essentially a coin flip. You see those records. If you go 6-2 one year, you're probably going to go 2-6 the next year. It's really hard to predict what happens there. And so I want the Broncos, when they have opportunities to just put teams away, you've got to have that instinct on both offense and defense. And I'm starting to see the signs that, if they play a team that they just should beat, it could be a game where you just don't have to worry. And that's a really good sign as you try to stack wins, because in a really tough division, if this team's going to get to 10 or 11 wins, 12 wins, you can't lay a dud. You can't let a team that you're supposed to beat knock you off.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Maybe the Cowboys have had a different approach to getting ready for week 1. Maybe they're going to ramp things up here soon. But the Broncos have clearly been at a different level so far. So on the offensive side, Erica, one thing I wanted to touch on was we know that Courtland Sutton, we know what he's going to be able to do. We heard Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett actually said, when Sutton is open, Russ had been throwing it to him, but now he's learning. Maybe he's more open than more often than he had originally thought. that we know that's what Cortland Sutton was going to be like. Albert O, to me, though, has really established himself as the number one tight end, as a go-to guy that Russ can go to. We thought maybe Greg Dulcich was going to push him at the beginning of camp, but that has not been the case. Dulcich has battled through some injury stuff here, and it would suggest to me that Eric Saubert is definitely the number 2 tight end right now.
Yeah, I mean, according to the depth chart, Saubert's behind like a Beck and a Tomlinson, so it'll be interesting to see how they view things at the end of camp. But
like when Russell Wilson was at the podium,
yeah.
he said Alberto and Saubert. Those are the only 2 names he mentioned.
Yeah, it's interesting based on what the front office sees versus what Russ sees. I would imagine Russ would have some input in some of those decisions. He's probably not making final roster moves, but I bet the front office pays attention if he says, "Hey, I like Eric Saubert."
Yeah, and they obviously have a Seattle connection too. I just wonder if it seems like he trusts Eric Saubert out there right now. So always tough when a rookie has some injury problems.
Yeah,
can't always be out there. Can't be getting these reps. And I'd like to see Greg Dulcich back out on the field, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, Nathaniel Hackett said he had a little bit of a setback, but that still got 30-something days until the regular season opener, and that they're just trying to be smart.
Hackett has been very protective when speaking about injuries.
Yeah.
So just something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
Is what I would say. And also the secondary with Ronald Darby, K'Wan Williams and stuff, something to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, I mean, that's another takeaway from the Cowboys practice is that C.D. Lamb did have a lot of success working against Michael Ojemudia. The Broncos need to figure out, they either need to get Ronald Darby healthy, might need a guy like Damari Mathis to step up and play more, or if those guys can't play, maybe it's something where you say Surtain is just going to follow a guy like C.D. Lamb and we'll take our chances elsewhere on the field.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to topic number 2 here, Eric, and that's what we want to see on Saturday night against the Cowboys. Probably thinking the final score doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, I'm more interested in seeing certain guys. Montrell Washington, he kind of started camp as a third-team receiver, then moved up to second-team. Recently has gotten those first-team reps and has stood out, has made some plays. If he gets the start on Saturday night, how does he handle that? Is he able to make a few plays? He's been a dynamic option, in the slot, kind of a shifty guy able to get open. And then, of course, his main responsibility is a punt returner and kick returner. He's been sure-handed in practice, but how does he handle that kind of in a game situation with the lights on? A night game, I think, changes things a little bit, just from seeing the ball, bringing it in, making a play. So he's a guy on the offensive side. And then defensively, Nick Bonito, we hear about the bend, the athleticism. You see it sometimes in practice, but how does that translate to the game field? And then Damari Mathis has been one of the biggest surprises of camp. He's really excelled at corner, I thought. I think there's a really good chance he gets a start, maybe opposite Michael Ojemudia on Saturday. How is he able to handle himself? Is he ready to push for that number 4 cornerback position? I think all 3 of those guys have a lot to gain from this.
Yeah, I just want to see these young guys, first time putting on an NFL uniform, first time walking out into an NFL stadium ready to play. I know that they've done this their entire lives, but, for a guy like Montrell Washington, standing back there in the end zone and the ball is kicked off, there's got to be just a little something back there that's saying, like, I'm here. I can't believe this is happening. So you want to just see how the nerves, how you handle that kind of thing. And, yeah, younger guys, this is the first time to see them, really play, what does a Nick Bonito look like, out there? You and I, we see them in practice. We see, what they're like every single day. But for a large portion of the fans, if they weren't able to make it out to training camp, this is their first impressions of these guys. So everything up to this point has just been us talking about practice. This is it's going to be on TV. You're going to see these guys. So I'm sure that people are eager to just see what they're like. And a guy like Damari Mathis, there's been a lot of talk about him and his athleticism, and if he can go out there and start to build on that buzz, and maybe makes an interception, and then all of a sudden people are talking about him outside of here, and that's how you sort of make a name for yourself.
Yeah, I also think you'll get a sense, maybe a little bit of clarity for how some of these position battles are going to work out. Whether it's the wide receivers behind Montrell in terms of who makes this team as the 5th receiver. Is it a Kendall Hinton? Is it a Seth Williams? Is it a Brandon Johnson? Travis Fulgham. What do those guys do? Because now they're stats, and so it's not just kind of keeping track on a piece of paper of, he made a nice catch over here. Or, no, you're going to have some numbers to go with all these evaluations. I think you look at the offensive line. How does a guy like Luke Wattenberg do if he starts at center for Lloyd Cushenberry? You think about the defensive line. There's a lot of questions, for me at least, about who might be the 5th and 6th defensive linemen. At safety, who is going to back up Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons? So a lot of these questions start to get answered in the preseason, and they're not necessarily like the biggest questions, but at some point this year, you're going to have to call on at least a few of these guys because of the way that injuries happen. Even guys get knocked out for a game or two, you might need your backup inside linebacker to step in. So I'll be watching that as well to see who takes advantage of this opportunity. There's cut downs next Tuesday. You got to go from 90 to 85. It's my understanding that it's possible the PUP works a little differently there, so may not have to cut 5 players, but some people are going to get cut next week, so it could be someone's final chance to make an impression.
Every year you hear about a guy who did something in preseason and then, built on that and then ended up making a team, or at least you got a spot on a practice squad or something like that. So Terrell Davis obviously is that famous story. He made the hit on special teams. So who's going to be that guy for the Broncos who, maybe has been under the radar a little bit, but then makes a big play in this game. The next game maybe they go out and do it again, and then all of a sudden they wind up on the team. So just looking to see who that guy might be.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of where we're at. So, Eric, our final thing, just as we wrap up here, it's the end of training camp. How did you think everything went for the Broncos this time around?
I think good. I think from a on-field perspective, they're where you want to be. Russell Wilson said the offense is actually ahead of where he expected. I think you're starting to see them turn things on, and I think by the time you get to Seattle, you're going to feel really good about where this offense is. Again, I think it helps that your first 3 games are winnable games, and so I think the Broncos could build some confidence early. The defense has picked up where they left off, and I think maybe even improved on that. I've been impressed really with Ejiro Evero and the way he's led this defense. We'll have to see if special teams improves, but obviously Dwayne Stukes brings a different sort of energy to that. And I guess my final takeaway is, we mentioned the culture earlier, but I think with Nathaniel Hackett in particular, I think it can be easy to come in when you're this offensive-minded guy and just really make that your focus. I think he's done a good job of connecting with players. I think they really like the practice schedule that he's had. I think they're playing hard for him, and he's really endeared himself to those guys. So we haven't reached a point of adversity where there's a 2-game losing streak and you got to figure out how to get out of it, or something happens where he's got to discipline a player. Those things haven't happened, but I think right now he's done a great job of kind of getting this team to bond, play for each other, play for him. And I'm encouraged about where things stand after training camp.
Yeah, I think overall, he did a good job of keeping the guys healthy. Tim Patrick was obviously the low point there of camp. But aside from that, seems like guys feel fresh. They feel fired up, ready to go. They enjoy playing for Nathaniel Hackett. And, Eric, one of the things that we've talked about in the past is when you feel like your team is going to be good, there's a certain level of focus and there's a certain level of energy that, you feel like, okay, if we all buy into this, we're going to be good here. And we heard Russell Wilson talking about that, just like getting guys to win every day.
Yeah.
Just the word win came out of his mouth probably like 55 times.
Yeah.
And so really buying into that, just being like, we're going to win this day, we're going to win this day, we're going to win this day, and building on that and believing it, buying into it. It really does seem like there's that focus. So that was built during training camp, and you always hear about being calloused and that kind of stuff at the end of camp. And it seems like this team is in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, I like where they are. Obviously, more work to be done here over the next 3 or 4 weeks before the regular season opener arrives. But camp went quickly, I think, for me at least, which isn't always what happens. And I think that's a good thing. That speaks to how well things went. You weren't kind of dragging through some of these days as a team. Just being around the building, guys seem excited still. You get to this point sometimes and they're tired of seeing each other. They're kind of tired of being here. I don't get that sense from them. And so, I've seen enough that I don't know how far they'll go, but I do expect this team to to contend for the playoffs. And once you get in there, who knows what happens.
Now, I will say on the other side of that, we did not see Randy Gregory at all.
Yeah.
Do eventually want to see him, but it might be a situation where the first time we see him is Seattle, if he's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean that's a concern. Haven't seen Billy Turner.
Have not seen Billy Turner. Want to see what Greg Dulcich can do here because, like in terms of guys that we thought were going to be pass-catching tight ends playing an important role in the, passing game for this offense, it's Albert O, and right now it's Eric Saubert.
Right.
So, you do want to see Greg Dulcich eventually get out there and get a lot of reps.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to bash these teams because anybody can beat anybody in a given week, but the Broncos on paper should go and take care of business in Seattle, and they should come home and take care of Houston at home. And I obviously Seattle's going to be an emotional game for Russell Wilson, and you never know what can happen in a game like that. But I think the Broncos can get through those first couple games without a Greg Dulcich, without a Randy Gregory, without a Billy Turner. And so, I really think if those guys can – obviously I want them there, and the Broncos are a better team with them. But if the Broncos could get them back like late September for when the Niners come here, or maybe even they're back for those first two games, but they're working in slowly, and then they're ready to go week 3, that to me would be okay.
Yeah, I think, like you said, you don't want to take anybody lightly, but you also don't want one of those guys to come back and have something linger the whole year.
Right. You don't want to rush them. And the Chiefs are not coming in here week 1.
Yeah, but the way this division is, you've really got to take care of business when you're supposed to.
Yeah.
There is no wiggle room.
Right.
So.
We'll talk more about Seattle and
of
what's
course,
on the
of
line.
Course, yeah. But I guess one way you could sum up training camp is I feel better about this team now than I did 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of the hype and build-up going into camp, all of the things we talked about in the storylines heading up into camp, we saw some of those in action.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I feel pretty good about that. So, and overall, Eric, a big training camp for this organization. I mean, we saw Nathaniel Hackett out there, we saw Russell Wilson out there, and then also obviously a change in ownership. So this all happened in 3 weeks. So
yeah.
It's been a lot going on here for the organization as a whole. So, Eric, let's wrap up this show with some shout-outs like we like to do. Who are you shouting out?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but the Walton Penner Family Ownership Group officially introduced this week. I had the opportunity to meet a few of them. I know you met Rob as well. Just from what I can tell, really invested in the Broncos, kind of down-to-earth people. Owner and CEO Greg Penner is kind of going to handle the day-to-day sort of stuff. He seems like a very down-to-earth guy who's invested in getting this right and continuing on the culture that the Broncos have had here in terms of expecting excellence, expecting championships. He said he's going to demand accountability. He's going to demand having the right people in place and giving them the resources, having high standards. That's what you want to hear, I think. If you're a fan, they're going to leave things to the football staff that are football-related. But I think between that, hiring Damani Leach as the team president, who's going to come in here, a guy with league experience, the business acumen that you want, but then also, he's
international.
But he's a former collegiate player.
Yep.
So he gets it from that side. I like it's a new era, and change is always difficult and a little bit, uneasy. Maybe you're not sure where it's going to go. The moves the Broncos have made so far, I think, indicate that it's going to be a good transition.
Yeah. I mean, they really had high reverence for Mr. B and everything that he was able to do here, a Hall of Fame owner. I thought that was nice how they handled that. They were like, look, we know we've got big shoes to fill coming in here. And they also said a lot of things that you want to hear, including, look, we've excelled in business our entire lives here, but we're learning the football business. And so, like, I think they said that. They set that up really well. Like, look, we know we got a lot to learn, and we've been entrusted with a very valuable organization, and we're going to do the best that we can. That gets you fired up where you're like, okay, these guys are on top of it. You mentioned Damani Leach coming in. This is a top-notch hire. I mean, this guy is really accomplished, really a proven track record, and this is the kind of leadership that the Broncos have been I don't know how to say this. I think that Joe Ellis did a great job in the position that he was in. Really got this team to the finish line in terms of carrying out what Mr. B wanted, his wishes, and I think that he did a tremendous job doing that. But it's a little different when Mr. B's walking around here or the owner is in the building. And so now that for the Broncos to have this leadership and to move into this new era, it's just a really positive time and a time to like just turn the corner and move into a new era.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I guess that's how I looked at it. And obviously, this team is in really good hands with George Payton. They've adopted Russell Wilson as the quarterback here. Things are in a good place now where even just 1 year ago at this time, it was just such a different.
Yeah, just very uncertain.
Yeah, it was just so different than where the Broncos are right now. So, also want to shout out to Liz Gerald.
Of course, we wouldn't forget that.
So, what kind of stuff's been going on in the community there?
There's the London raffle still going on, Phil. We love that raffle.
How many did you put in?
I think we are eligible. I'm just gonna go on the charter to cover the game. I think I'll do that.
You feel like you're so like you think you'll just do it?
Yeah,
got it.
I think that's probably my
maybe
plan.
I'll do it too.
Maybe, yeah. But if you want to win an all expenses paid trip to London,
yeah,
go to their website.
I'm surprised they didn't include like a meet and greet with us.
I think that was just kind of understood.
Oh, God.
Because it said
you win this raffle.
It said like meet George Payton and like those guys. I think you understand if you meet those guys,
you meet us.
We're kind of at that same level.
Got it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just like an oversight. Like it was.
Yeah. Or maybe they thought they'd raise too much money.
That is true. Yeah. What do you think the numbers would be like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Really, the numbers would be so high.
We maybe should give out some stickers while we're in London.
That would be nice.
Yeah. We could put one.
You'll do anything to not mail out stickers.
Yeah, I'll just pass them out.
Yeah.
To meet us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for us. Been a good episode. A lot of stuff going on with the team, so hopefully that wrapped things up nicely, even though we were a day late.
Not a dollar short, though.
Next week, we'll be right on the money.
Hopefully.
I think. Okay, that's going to do it for us. For Eric Delisle, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.